Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, whenever you're watching this. My name's Brian. I'm the pastor at our Woodinville campus. I'm with one of my good buddies. This is Jeff. Now, I get to introduce Jeff. He doesn't know I'm going to introduce him this way, but you may not know, Jeff has a job that's most likely a lot cooler than your job. It's cooler than my job. Jeff flies for a local airline, commercial airline, but then Jeff flies a Growler for the Navy. And we want to explain to everybody what a Growler is real quick.
A Growler is it's a Super Hornet, but does electronic attack for the Navy.
For us common folk, it's a fighter jet like Top Gun. So yeah, he gets to do that as well. Super fun. He still hasn't brought any of us up there.
I keep trying.
Yeah, we're waiting for the invite. But yeah, stoked you're here. Thanks, Jeff, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We are on August 4th. We are, I don't know what day we are, day 216, but it's August 4th. And if you're still up to date, right on. I know it's a bit of a grind, but it's good. So anyway, let's kick things off. Jeff, let's talk Old Testament. You can kick things off. Talk to us about what really stuck out in the Old Testament for you.
So Old Testament Chronicles, what stuck out to me gives a lot of examples of the kings who didn't last very long. And why didn't they last very long? Because they didn't do very well. Instead of following God in the footsteps of David or Moses going farther back, they followed what they wanted to do. And that didn't work out. So they didn't reign very long. God got mad at them, long story short, and more or less ended up killing them before their time. So it was example after example of they did what they wanted, not what they should have done, and it didn't work out.
And we had, to preface it, we had King Josiah, who is this really good guy, lasted long because he was following God, and then there was a succession of a bunch of kings who I think tried to make spirituality complex, if I was to put it in my words, and messed up. They immediately died. There was two guys that were only there for like 3 months.
Yeah, not long.
I mean, just like that, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, I think it's interesting that the simplicity of Josiah, of putting God first, of trying to put God first, not only in his life, but the nation's life, it gave him success.
For sure.
Right. And all these other kings. The thing that stuck out for me, I want to tell you guys, preface it, I'm going to nerd out a little bit. I don't nerd out all the time, but I love to nerd out on a little bit of archaeology surrounding the Bible. So the cool thing is in this section of scripture, it name drops 3 different people. There's Pharaoh Necho. If you look up the Pharaoh Necho, you'll find a validated guy in, I think it was 3000 or 5000 BC in Egypt. Then it name drops King Nebuchadnezzar. And King Nebuchadnezzar is important here is because what happened at the very end of this chapter in 2 Chronicles 36 is King Nebuchadnezzar brings the Babylonian army and he destroys Israel. He destroys Jerusalem. He takes it over. He literally kills everybody. And that's a big deal in the history of our Christian faith and Jewish faith and history there. That's a big deal because it was the first destruction of the temple of God. And then what happens is you can go online and you can look up, is this guy real? And you can find he's real. Now, the reason why this is important for me is because I've always said that you and we can trust the Bible. A lot of the times sometimes I get in and I'm reading the Bible and you read it like a book and you can almost put it in your mind like this is another piece of fiction or this is a nonfiction or a science fiction or whatever it is book. It's a good story, but is it life-changing? Can we really trust it? Well, the Bible is the most scrutinized book in the history of the world. And here's the perfect opportunity for us to see that the more archaeology has progressed, the more technologies come out, the more it's validated the Bible. And it all kind of comes down to in 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 22, it talks about King Cyrus. Now, you can Google King Cyrus, and more importantly, you can Google the Cyrus cylinder. This is a hugely important piece of archaeology that was found in 1879 that validates the fact that the Bible talked about the Jews got to go back and start worshiping God again in Jerusalem 70 years or 80 years after the destruction of the temple. So for many, many, many generations, there was doubt surrounding that. A lot of people thought that the Bible had misquoted or miswritten that. Well, in 1879, they found in the Mesopotamian ruins, they found this thing called the Cyrus cylinder, and it was written down talking about how great King Cyrus was, but most importantly, it validated the fact that King Cyrus let the Jews go back and worship God in Jerusalem. So that's my nerd out moment. That's a little bit of archaeology. Hopefully helps you understand that what we read is important and it's real. It's not something fake. So anyway, love that. Love that. What about New Testament? What stuck out for you in New Testament?
Tied in for me super well. So it starts, it's a beginning of 1 Corinthians, and it ties in really well with what we just read in the Old Testament, because it gives all these examples of people complicating things. And then what does it say? Surprisingly, or not surprisingly, excuse me, that don't complicate things. Look toward God, look toward Jesus, and everything else will fall in place. When you start to do too many things, it all falls apart. When you look toward God and you look toward Jesus, you always have that to rely on, and everything else falls in place. And go ahead.
I think it's interesting too that, you know, what they were doing in the context of this in chapter 1 of 1 Corinthians is everybody was trying to, like, I follow this guy, I follow this guy, I follow this guy. And what happens a lot of the times is we like, especially sometimes with denominations with Christianity, it's all the same if you're an evangelical Christian, if there's all these different things, and we like to, like, I'm this, I'm that, or especially in old times past, it was very important to be a part of a certain denomination. When at the end of the day, it's like, keep it simple. Like, are you for Christ? Do you follow Christ? Do you believe him to be the most important thing in your life? The more simple things are, the better they are for us, right? And I love it that, it, like you're saying, it connected perfect to the Old Testament. King Josiah in the Old Testament kept it simple. Put God first, both for himself and the nation of Israel, and everything worked out for King Josiah. And here, thousands of years later, we're talking about the same exact thing, right? If we keep it simple, it seems to work out all the time when we're following God. And I think it's important for us of what it means to keep it simple. And I'll put you on the spot. I know we didn't talk about it, but, like, what does it mean for you to keep it simple with God, with your family, or with your spouse, and vice versa?
So I can't hear or read 1 Corinthians without thinking about weddings. So the application for me specifically for this is with my spouse, with my family. If you have troubles, if you're uncertain, if you're making big decisions, my wife might think this and I think that, and should we butt heads, and should we, stick to what we want individually, or should we look toward God, figure it out together, figure it out as a husband and wife and as a family? That answer is right here.
I love it. And when I think keep it simple and not dividing when it comes to 1 Corinthians and all this stuff, I think about my kids. Like, if there's anything I can do, parenting seems so complicated. I just want to point my kids to Jesus. And the more I put God first in my life, the more I think a lot of the details work themselves out. So our big takeaway for you this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whenever you're watching it, is keep it simple with faith. Put God first, and he will work everything out for you. Love you guys. Have a great rest of the day.
Bye.